Somewhere in a bedroom right now, a phone is charging on a nightstand, quietly counting down to an alarm that will go off at exactly the right minute. Nobody thinks about it. You set it, you sleep, and a machine keeps its promise. It has always felt like the most ordinary object in the world. But for most of human history, nothing kept that promise for you. And for about 100 years, in the mill towns and dockyards of industrial Britain, the thing that finally did keep that promise wasn't a machine at all. It was a person, a stranger, usually old, usually poor, standing beneath your window in the dark with a long pole in their hand, tapping the glass until you woke up. If you didn't answer, they didn't leave. That person had a name for their trade. They were called a knocker-up. And understanding why an entire industrial economy needed them tells you something the alarm clock in your pocket never will. That waking up on time is not natural. It's an invention. And like every invention, before it existed, somebody had to solve the problem by hand. For most of human history, waking up cost nothing and demanded nothing precise. You woke with the light, or with the rooster, or with the sound of a household stirring around you. If you slept a little longer on a gray morning, the world forgave you. There was no exact minute you owed anyone. The factory changed that overnight. A mill did not care what the sun was doing. It cared what the clock said. Shifts began at 5 or 4 or 3 in the morning, whatever the machines demanded, whatever the season, whatever your body wanted. Arrive late, and you didn't just lose a few minutes. You could lose a shilling from your wage, or lose the shift entirely, or in a hard winter, lose the job itself.
And here was the cruel part. The people who needed to wake up at the most precise, unforgiving hour were exactly the people who could least afford to own anything that measured time precisely. A pocket watch was a small fortune. A reliable alarm clock, for most of the early industrial period, barely existed to buy at all. So an entire workforce was handed a problem with no tool to solve it. Into that gap walked the knocker-up. Picture a mill town before dawn. Rows of narrow brick houses, windows dark, the streets empty except for one figure moving from doorway to doorway with a pole taller than himself, tapping it against an upstairs window with a rhythm his clients had come to recognize. Some knocker-ups carried short sticks for street-level doors. Some carried something stranger, a hollow tube and a pocket full of dried peas, which they would fire at the glass one at a time until a shape moved behind the curtain. This was not a polite suggestion. It was a contract. The knocker-up did not walk away until they had proof the sleeper was awake and moving. A candle lit, a hand at the window, a muffled shout through the glass. Only then would they move to the next name on their round, sometimes 40 houses, sometimes 80, each one paying a few pence a week for the privilege of being someone's responsibility before sunrise. Most of the people doing this work were older men and women, out in the cold and the wet at 2 or 3 in the morning, walking miles across a sleeping town while everyone else slept. Some were retired laborers who had no other income left to them. In London, along the docks, even police constables took up the trade on the side, knocking on doors during their own night patrols to earn a little extra.
One woman, working a northern English town in the late 1800s, rose before 2:30 every morning, in every kind of weather, to keep a round of roughly 80 clients. For 30 years, this was her livelihood. On it, she raised a son through school and supported a husband who could no longer work. When she finally retired, she didn't sell her round to the highest bidder. She gave it, quietly, to a struggling neighbor who had fallen out of work and had a family to feed. A knocker-up's territory wasn't just an income. It was something you could hand down like an inheritance. Down by the London docks, the job took on its own rhythm entirely, because dock workers didn't answer to a factory bell, they answered to the tide. A ship could need unloading at any hour the water allowed, which meant knocker-ups there might be needed at 3 in the morning one day and 9 at night the next, adjusting constantly to a schedule no clock could predict because the moon was setting it instead. It wasn't just adults who depended on this. Apprentices, delivery boys, and children walking long distances to a factory floor or a market stall all needed the same precision, and a household with no clock and no knocker-up simply gambled with its own income every single night. Being 5 minutes late wasn't a small embarrassment. In a hard month, it was the difference between paying rent and not paying it. It wasn't only a British answer to a British problem. Across the Channel in France, the same trade appeared under a different name. workers called réveilleurs, walking their own rounds through Parisian streets. In parts of the Netherlands and Italy, similar figures did the same work under their own local names.
Wherever factories arrived and personal timepieces hadn't caught up yet, some version of a human alarm clock appeared to fill the space between them. And yet, for all the trust placed in them, knocker-ups were not always seen as respectable. To some social reformers of the era, they were lumped in with the city's most looked down upon casual laborers, grouped alongside step cleaners and baby minders as a class considered unworthy of charity, people accused of avoiding regular work even while performing one of the most punishing and essential schedules in the entire city. It's a strange judgment when you consider that without them, the factories these reformers admired would have had far fewer workers arriving on time at all. So if the problem was this well understood and the workaround this widespread, why didn't someone simply build a machine to do it instead? The truth is, people had been trying for a very long time. The idea of an alarm is almost as old as timekeeping itself. Centuries earlier, a philosopher in ancient Greece was said to keep a water clock at his bedside, timed to wake him for his lectures. In 8th century China, a Buddhist monk and astronomer built a clock that struck on its own. In the 1200s, a water-powered device was built specifically to announce the hours of prayer. By the 1500s, small mechanical alarms that a person could set themselves already existed in parts of Europe. But knowing an idea is possible and putting it into every working-class bedroom in England are two very different problems. The real modern alarm clock story doesn't begin with a grand invention. It begins with one man solving a problem, only for himself. In 1787, in Concord, New Hampshire, a clockmaker named Levi Hutchins built himself a wooden clock designed to do exactly one thing: ring a small bell at 4 o'clock in the morning, because that was the hour he had decided to rise every day of his life. He never patented it, he never sold a single copy. It couldn't even be adjusted to a different hour. It was built for an audience of one, and it worked perfectly, for him and for no one else. It took another 50 years for someone to solve the part that actually mattered to everybody else, letting a person choose their own hour. In 1847, a French inventor named Antoine Redier patented the first adjustable mechanical alarm clock. His design was simple but clever. Each number on the dial had a small hole drilled into it, and you placed a pin into the hole matching the hour you wanted to wake. It still couldn't manage a precise minute, only the nearest hour, but for the first time, an alarm clock could belong to anyone's schedule, not just its makers. American inventors followed quickly. A patent for a similar time alarm device appeared in the United States only 5 years later. Around the same period, clockmakers began selling what they called illumination alarm clocks, devices that struck a match and lit an oil lamp automatically at the set hour, an early ancestor of the gentle sunrise alarms people use today. Electricity, too, was quietly working its way into the bedroom. A Scottish inventor had already patented the first electric clock decades earlier, in 1840, though it would take until 1912 for an American engineer named Henry Warren to build the first true electric alarm clock, powered by a small self-starting motor instead of a hand-wound spring.
Piece by piece, over more than a century, the machine was being built. What it still lacked for most of that time was a price a mill worker could actually afford. But an invention sitting in a patent office changes nothing for a mill worker in Manchester. What finally changed the streets of industrial Britain wasn't the clever mechanism, it was the price tag. In 1876, an American clockmaker named Seth Thomas patented his own version of the alarm clock, and his company did something the earlier inventions never managed. They mass-produced it. for the first time, an alarm clock wasn't a curiosity in a gentleman's study. It was an object a working family could actually save up and afford. Even then, the change was slow, almost stubbornly slow. Nearly 40 years after mass production began, in 1914, a British newspaper was still writing about cheap American clocks finally killing the old knocking up trade in London, as if it were only just happening. The knocker-up didn't disappear the moment the alarm clock was invented. The two existed side by side for generations. The machine slowly, unevenly, town by town, earning the trust that a person had held for 100 years. And the ending, when it came, wasn't dramatic. It was quiet. Smaller towns held on longest because cheap clocks reached the cities first and the countryside last. As late as 1960, in a handful of small British towns, someone somewhere was still walking around in the dark with a pole in their hand, tapping on windows their family had tapped on for 2 or 3 generations before them. Think about what actually disappeared when that round finally stopped. It wasn't just a job. It was a relationship. Someone who knew your window.